Life hasn't been easy for Coronation Street's Eva Price and Ben Driscoll since they moved their family to Weatherfield last year. The couple have dealt with relationship drama, business squabbles, health issues, and bombshell family revelations. Most recently, the entire family has been trying to support Will amid his horrific grooming ordeal at the hands of his sports coach Megan Walsh. Though Will initially denied their relationship, last week's episode saw him finally admitting the truth and reporting Megan to the police. Following Megan's arrest, Ben and Eva were able to breathe a small sigh of relief and have been trying to help Will move on with his life. However, next week's episodes prove that moving on is easier said than done on the cobbles. In a newly released spoiler clip, Ben sits down in the pub back room to have an emotional chat with his heartbroken son. The teenager apologizes for his recent outburst, and Ben agrees to give him some space to process his feelings. As Will heads off, a disgruntled Eva enters the room with her young daughter Susie in tow. She tells Ben that Susie is in trouble for throwing a fizzy drink at Bryn Winterbrown's head. "What can I say? I'm a good shot," the sassy schoolgirl replies. When Ben inquires why Susie would do something like that, her answer leaves both grown-ups fuming. She reveals that Bryn was winding her up about Will, adding, "He kept on calling Will a weirdo, and that something happened with him and Megan. That they were doing stuff together." Susie then asks if what Bryn was saying was true, but is interrupted by Gemma and Chesney, who are keen to discuss the incident with their son. Gemma demands a word with the family, and is surprised when Eva is just as irritated as she is. Will the neighbors be able to have a civil conversation to clear things up? Or could a feud be brewing? The cobbles of Weatherfield have never been short on drama, but for Eva and Ben, life seems determined to test them at every turn. Just when they thought the chaos surrounding Will had finally settled, another storm rolled in, and this one could change everything. Eva had barely slept for days. Between juggling work, keeping her emotions in check, and trying to rebuild some sense of normality, she felt stretched thinner than ever. The tension with Will had consumed so much of their lives that she and Ben forgot what peace even looked like. But now, with Will temporarily out of the picture, they hoped they could finally breathe again. They were wrong. It started with a letter. Ben walked into the flat late one afternoon carrying a pile of unopened mail. Most of it was the usual bills and advertisements, but one envelope immediately caught his attention. It had the bold red stamp nobody ever wants to see, "Final Notice." Eva watched his expression darken. "What is it?" she asked nervously. Ben hesitated before handing it over. "I think we're in trouble." As Eva scanned the page, her stomach dropped. Months of missed payments, hidden charges, and rising debt had snowballed into something terrifying. Somehow, amid all the emotional turmoil surrounding Will, they had completely lost control of their finances. And now the landlord wanted paying immediately. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence inside the flat felt heavier than any argument. "We can sort this," Eva finally whispered, though even she didn't sound convinced. But Ben wasn't so sure. Business at work had slowed down, overtime had dried up, and the stress had already started affecting his performance. Eva had tried to stay optimistic, but secretly she'd been dipping into savings just to keep them afloat. Savings that were now gone. The pressure quickly began tearing at the cracks already forming in their relationship. Ben hated feeling like he was failing Eva. Every time she reassured him, it somehow made him feel worse. He wanted to fix things, to protect her from the mess they were in, but instead he felt powerless. Eva, meanwhile, was exhausted from pretending to be strong. One evening, after another tense discussion about money, the pair finally exploded at each other. "You think I don't know how bad this is?" Eva snapped. "I'm the one staying awake every night wondering how we're supposed to survive. And you think I'm not?" Ben fired back. "I'm trying, Eva. Trying isn't enough anymore." The words hung in the air, instantly regretted. Ben grabbed his jacket and stormed out before Eva could stop him. Outside, the familiar Weatherfield rain poured down as Ben wandered aimlessly through the cobbles. The lights from the Rovers glowed warmly in the distance, but even that comforting sight couldn't calm the storm in his head. For the first time, he wondered whether everything had simply become too much. Back at the flat, Eva sat alone fighting tears. She knew this wasn't really about money. Not entirely. The truth was that months of stress, Fear and emotional exhaustion had pushed them both to breaking point, and now they risked losing each other. The next morning, things only got worse. Eva received a call informing her that her hours at work were being reduced. Budget cuts. Temporary, they claimed, but Eva knew what that usually meant. Less income was the last thing they needed. When Ben returned home later that day, soaked from the rain and looking defeated, he found Eva sitting silently at the kitchen table. "I lost hours at work," she admitted quietly. Ben closed his eyes. "Of course you did." Neither of them even had the energy to argue anymore. But amid the despair, something unexpected happened. Instead of blaming each other again, they finally talked honestly. Really talked. Ben admitted how terrified he'd been of letting Eva down. Eva confessed she'd been pretending everything was okay because she didn't want to burden him further. Beneath all the frustration, the fear, and the shouting, one thing became painfully clear. They still loved each other deeply. And maybe that was enough to start fighting back. Together, they began coming up with a plan. It wasn't glamorous. Ben offered to pick up night shifts wherever he could. Eva started looking for extra freelance work online. They even considered downsizing if things didn't improve. It wouldn't solve everything overnight, but for the first time in weeks, they were finally facing the problem as a team. Still, Coronation Street fans know peace never lasts long on the cobbles. As Eva and Ben slowly tried rebuilding their lives, another shocking twist loomed on the horizon. A mysterious phone call. A hidden secret from Ben's past. And whispers around Weatherfield suggesting someone may have deliberately sabotaged their finances. Could this latest disaster be more than just bad luck? And if the truth comes out, will Eva and Ben survive it? One thing is certain, the drama in Coronation Street is far from over. Because in Weatherfield, trouble always finds its way home. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Coronation Street Scoop News Update.